Hey,
Hey, Shane.
Monica.
Oh my God. How are you?
Doing awesome. How are you?
Good. July 14th. Can you believe it?
I tell you.
What is like
This is
Bastille
so
Day?
amazing.
Viva la France. I mean,
Viva la
no,
France.
that's like Viva Las Vegas. This is really wrong. Welcome to That Matters
Oh,
Live.
what I was doing was
Yes,
Las Vegas. I always do that.
Okay. I am introing the show, and I am Monica Mitchell, and this is Shane Snipes, and this is That Matters Live, coming to you direct in real time from the Center for Social Innovation in New York City. We are in the best city in the world, and today we have a great show for you. We are going to talk about money. Money, yeah, a lot of things, but we're going to talk about money too, and money for small business. So my co-host, Shane Snipes, is like kind of awesome. I don't usually tell him that, but I have to tell him that on the air. But I usually don't admit that he's kind of awesome, but he is. He's like, first of all, a tech wizard, but he's also a director, a producer, a writer. I mean, what don't you do? He created the Eco Road series, that popular Eco Road series, 1,000 interviews across 48 states, and let me tell you, he actually made friends. People actually liked him.
Oh,
I don't even know why.
Of course they did. Of course they did. And Monica Mitchell, my co-host, is the founder of Good Business New York City. And the great thing about Good Business New York is it's already won awards. It's a standout company of the year at the Washington Post. And she's an award-winning writer, thought leader across the country. The good news is, together, I think we equal a whole brain. And that's fantastic.
No, I think it depends on the day. Today I have half a brain. I was out very late last night because this is New York, and you can do that on a Sunday night. So, and sitting with me, I have one of my best buddies, Chris Irk from the Tap Factor. Hey, Chris, how are you? Awesome. We're going to talk to you in a few minutes about your program called Best Buddies, a project that you did at Carnegie.
With the Tap Factor and Best Buddies and the free players.
You'll get your minute. Don't go. I'm doing it twice. And we also have Lauren
Williams. Oh, yes, Lauren, thanks so much for being here. It's always good to have so many great guests on the show, and you guys are doing fantastic work. The One World Summit is bringing together so many fantastic things, and we'll hear about you in just a moment as well.
Yes, well, okay. So let's what are we going to talk about now?
Oh, you know, the thing that I love about our show is we always get to talk about what's happened to us, right?
Right.
So this weekend, I went on my usual, like, crazy exploration spree.
Yes.
And I went to all across the city. So I live up in Hamilton Heights, or people call it Uptown. Or
people call it Harlem. They call it Harlem.
Upper Harlem.
Yeah, it's Harlem.
It's like beyond Harlem.
He likes to call it Sugar Hill. You know, give it pretty names. It's Harlem, and it's got a lot of
Anyone
soul,
who's in
a lot of
hip-hop
history.
scene, like me, folks in the hip-hop scene like me, like big-time hip-hop folks.
Oh, yeah, he's a real hip-hopper. You can tell, right? It's like
the
it's
folks like that know what Sugar Hill's all about.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh, please don't even try. It's really scary. Okay, so what did you do this weekend?
So I ended up hiking. My urban hiking experiences are every weekend I try to get around and see tons of the city. So I hiked down from 146 to about the 70s. So from the west side to the east side and then back again. And each way I took a different route.
Congratulations.
Oh my God. But I saw these cool street festivals.
All right, tell us how you
There was a
walked.
Dominican street festival, there was a Cuban street festival, there was
Yes.
an Upper East Side
Salsa,
street festival.
Salsa, Cuban, yes.
Upper East Side Street Festival.
Well, they don't salsa there, no. They strut or something. We're not sure what they do. Okay.
Yes, they get out in their cars and go to
They're
their
like
limos.
so cool.
That's what they do.
They're driven to the fair.
Shall
By
we take our gold
chariot.
to the...
And you know something, so you're going to ask me what I did this weekend?
Of course. What did you do?
All right, I went to the coolest party last night in Tribeca at Walker's. I'm going to say it because my friends own the place, Jerry and Scott, and they opened it years ago. And it's like a really beautiful loft in an old building on Lower Varick Street. And we had a party, and I did stay out a little late. So if I forget what I'm doing here today, you'll know why. But
Par for the course.
hey, you know. Par for the course. But we had a good time. It was great because we were seeing friends from 10 years ago. And it was actually because a friend of mine had passed away, and everybody got gathered together. And we're all talking about how it takes somebody to die to actually get people back together who've known for years and years. It's
so
true,
good
right?
to have a celebration for someone's life like that.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it was crazy.
Wonderful.
Oh, and you know who was there? Famous jazz musicians, because we all knew them from a little club that I worked at in college called Bradley's, and it was Kenny Barron was there, really famous jazz pianist, and Ray Drummond was there, and Rufus Reid was there, and Clifford Jordan's wife was there, and Cedar Walton's wife was there. So it was really amazing, and the music was
cool.
incredible.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun.
I love that kind of stuff. I love jazz.
Yeah, all right.
Jazz is
So
like the coolest thing. But now we're here at CSI. You know, the whole CSI Minute is such a cool experience for us because what we get to do whenever we talk about CSI is all of these different organizations, 300 plus of them, whose main goal is to have a social impact, to create change. And what we do on our show is we really focus in on social innovation, social entrepreneurship. We want to showcase those people and those organizations that are really creating change.
they're sitting right here with us.
Yeah, I know. I like to talk about people.
They're not
who are in
allowed
my
to talk.
presence.
They can't talk.
No, I like to talk about people in my presence in the third person.
Yes.
I often talk about myself in the third person too.
Yes,
I'm not
please
do that
don't.
today.
Don't do it anymore. Yeah, well, you know, can you guys, you guys listen to the news, right, and everything like that? Like, you know what's going on right now in the headlines with the Afghan vote, right? We're part of the recount. You know, they're going to recount 8 million. They sent it to us by FedEx. Sent us
wow.
I don't know, it must
That's
be
right.
like 10,000 votes right there.
Oh my God, look at this. Wow.
You know, 10,000 votes, so it's like,
All
right.
There's a couple of odd ends and ends in there too.
Yes, exactly.
People just write on
we're
anything.
gonna be running anything. We're gonna be counting the votes. It's a very official process here, and you know, because John Kerry, the Secretary of State of the United States of America, said that he brokered a deal with the United Nations that they're going to have a legitimate recount of the Afghan vote because that's a democracy, and that's what democracies do. So rather like Florida in 2000, we're going to be counting the votes, and we're going to make sure there's no jabs or jibs. I mean, there's like corners that are kind of cut off, but you know, and I also got a little I got a big paper cut. This is when
it's workers.
they tried to machete me. When I grabbed the votes, they tried to cut my finger off. So I hope you guys can help us count.
Yeah, we're gonna need a lot of help. We got 8 million to go, so it's gonna be a nice activity all throughout the evening.
But we also want to talk to you guys about
6 years of our lives. So it's all good.
We want to talk to you guys about American law. You know, I bet. Did you guys know that Sarah Palin was a constitutional law expert? Did you know that? No. Did you know that?
Yeah.
New information.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't.
Oh my God.
You know who
so
Sarah Palin is, though, right?
Yes, I do know.
Sarah Palin.
Are you Sarah Palin?
Is that all? Can I just say Okay.
You can. That's
I think
great.
I think she's
awesome.
a beautiful woman.
It's awesome.
I think she's beautiful.
He thinks she's hot. Sarah, he thinks she's hot. Okay. Let me ask you a question. We're doing a vote right now on who's cooler. Who is cooler? Because she's trying to sue Obama with I think Rick Perry and Bonner. They're even trying to get him involved, trying to impeach President Obama. And do you know why they're trying to impeach President Obama?
No.
Do you know why your beautiful idol, whatever, is trying to impeach your president?
What are you making of the situation?
He's very well read, and he's read the news. He's a dancer. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
He's a politician.
He
That was
is.
a very good
It was
political answer there.
Are you running for office?
Only if there's a demand for it.
Yeah. Well, we'll write him in. Yeah.
I truly would
you
vote
would.
for you.
Is it because he's cute or because he dances? Which one?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah. But he thinks Sarah Palin. I don't know. I mean, I'm so surprised. All right. Well, listen. She's trying to get together an impeachment process for the president. She has a point because she's saying that he drinks suds, which are beer. That's beer. That's her colloquial Alaskan expression for beer, and plays pool.
Yes.
And so we want to know if that's an impeachable offense. What do you think?
I think that his experience that he has on his personal time helps him understand his constituents in a way that
Oh my God, he's really
relate to them better. So I mean, beer is a part of our culture, and if he had zero experience with drinking beer and playing pool and having that sort of social aspect to his life, he may not be an authority to interact with his constituency.
God, I am voting for you. That was the biggest bunch of BS I ever heard. That was beautiful. Oh my God. She's a senior at the University of Minnesota, and you're studying what over there?
I'm studying communications, leadership, and Portuguese.
A Portuguese. Oh, Portuguese, excuse me.
Yeah.
Got some Brazilians in the
Brazil,
room.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard
I'm
about
so
you.
sorry
I've heard
about
about you.
Brazil. I've been crying. I've been crying. Well, that's true. Germany won. I had the flag here, but I was afraid people would attack
I just
me.
said we wouldn't talk about it. It never happened.
Never happened.
No, it didn't.
So you're studying community leadership. So what do you think about that? Do you think it's an impeachable offense to drink beer and play pool without drinking shots? That's really the important thing. I think that's her key point, was that he didn't have shots on the table. When you play pool, you
That's a
must
serious
have a shot.
offense. That's a serious offense.
Personally, I don't. I don't agree that beer is a part of our culture, though.
You don't
But-
agree that beer is a part of the culture?
No.
Oh my God.
I don't.
You know, in Colorado, what do they have, like Rolling Rock or something out there?
They
What
have
is it?
everything. They have all kinds of great stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
They
God.
actually have some
Yeah.
really, really
And don't tell
good
that to the
beers.
Germans. I mean, they'll never come here if beer is not part of our
I'm a
culture.
microbrew person.
You're micro.
So if we're talking about it, it exists. There's something. It has its presence.
Well, there's craft beer all over Brooklyn, all over Manhattan. Do you like craft beer? Have you ever tried it?
I haven't.
Okay, so you don't drink beer.
I don't.
Oh,
Maybe it's
all right.
maybe it's just not a part of my culture.
All right. Okay, your culture and your Minnesotan culture, right?
Minnesota.
All right.
Scandinavians from
So
Minnesota
I
like
think
their
that-
vodka.
Okay, therefore, I think she thinks that Sarah Palin has a point that drinking beer and playing pool might be an impeachable offense. Do you think so?
I guess I can see where she's coming from. I personally don't think so, but yeah, maybe she has something there. I don't
All
know.
right, okay. All right, well, that's amazing. I really appreciate that, because she's going to graduate this year or next year? Next year, okay. Well, we have to all study a little harder, I think. We have to keep up with her. So I want to ask you a little bit. Why don't you tell us a little
tell
bit?
me a little bit about the One World Summit. I'm excited to hear about what you guys are doing and when it's planning to launch. There's just so many really cool activities going on with it.
Yeah, so it's August 2nd and 3rd, Saturday and Sunday, and it's just a 2-day experience for young leaders and social entrepreneurs, just to get together and learn from awesome speakers. We have 10 awesome speakers, 5 interactive workshops, and then we're also going to have a pitch competition. So it's really just a chance for people to get together and meet with like-minded people that really want to make a difference in the world. So.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it. Who's the founder? His name is Al something, and he last year he was trying to get something together for a project to make social change. He's in Australia, and all of his volunteers dropped out right before the program happened. So he decided he was wanted to turbocharge the apathy level among 17 to 22-year-olds, because he is 19. I think he was 18 last year. He's 19 this year. So that's where the One World Summit came. So you're talking about 17 to 22-year-olds, which are basically college age. I'm sorry, you're over the hill. Do you understand? Hit 25, that's it. It's all done, okay?
Clooney's doing all right. I'm on to his Clooney years.
Oh, my God.
It's the Clooney
Oh, my
years.
God.
Wow. You're not anywhere close to
Totally
Clooney years.
as gorgeous as George Clooney. He totally is.
No, I'm
Thank
saying he's
you.
not anywhere close to Clooney years. Clooney is
Clooney, he is. Clooney's 50. I think he's older than that. He's, what, you're 49, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should start going backwards.
Okay.
Well, tell us about what you're working on.
So I'm working. Well, it's actually an event that had just happened, which had a large impact on the way I'm moving forward with my work with my company called The Tap Factor. A couple years ago, I was invited by a friend of mine, Elaine Kwan, to perform in a Best Buddies concert at Carnegie Hall. And Best Buddies is an international organization founded by Anthony Kennedy Shriver. And they're
Is he related to Maria Shriver?
sister.
Love her.
Yeah, Mother Eunice and his father, very influential in the world of, I'd say, philanthropy and doing good in the world. So as a guest of this concert, I performed, and it went over really well. And then the following concert, they asked me if I would be interested in coming back to participate again, and how would I make it bigger and better than it was the year before. So I proposed this program that I that I've developed, which has been done in a couple different iterations before this particular one with Best Buddies. But I propose that we get members of the Best Buddies organization, those namely with people who have intellectual developmental disabilities. It's their target audience, and they're trying to raise awareness of the abilities that people with.
So what Chris did was for 5 weeks he taught intellectually and developmentally challenged adults, right?
This was an adult performance troupe that each person had some form of autism or Down syndrome, which is intellectually developmental disabilities, or IDD is the.
IDD. And you taught them how to tap dance in 5 weeks.
In 5 weeks, and we brought them on stage as a part of the Best Buddies Carnegie Hall benefit concert, where they interacted with my friends, others who were just my field team that I brought out for the city to actually do the 5-week process, and then my friends, my professional friends, came on stage that night. They met everybody for the first time, and we brought the house down, and then it spurred further development for future programs and events with the organization. So.
Well, I'm going to cut you off there because we're running out of time. But already, I mean, you just had to listen to all our silly stuff along the way.
Know, right?
But I want to say something that Lauren loved that you're part of this, and it was so nice running into you the other day. We asked you to come on. Agnes, your director, is going to come on the show after the One World Summit on August 2nd and 3rd here at CSI. So thank you for being here and announcing it. We hope it goes really well. And Chris, we're going to do a show about performing artists, and we're going to feature the Tap Factor and the Best Buddies. We want to show your film, this September. I mean, it's incredible. It's so moving. And tell us, where people can find you right now.
You can go to thetapfactor.com. We have a presence on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where we kind of keep everybody updated on everything that's new and exciting.
Cool. That's awesome. So thank you guys for coming. Yay! Thank you. Awesome.
Excellent.
You rock.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
All right. Oh my God.
I'll see you later.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Lauren,
Awesome.
great to see you.
Very
Thank you
good.
for giving us the only intelligent comments we had on the
I
show.
know, right? Thank God Lauren's here.
Lauren, my
Otherwise,
God, we needed
I'm
an intellectual.
so thirsty. I
Oh
cannot
my
believe
God.
how
Sarah,
thirsty I am.
Helen, yes.
I
Okay.
have just gotten
Ugh.
unbelievably
Oh God, I'm thirsty.
parched. You just can't tell me. Oh my God, I'm so parched. You know what I want? I think I want a little sip. Just a little sip of something here.
You are always so thirsty. This is in honor of Sarah, who loves the big gulp. And they don't sell this in New York.
Thank God we have these.
This is
still.
contraband.
This is almost contraband.
Contraband in New York.
Jeez, what do we do without big gulp? Nice mustache. Oh my God.
If Mayor Bloomberg is watching, we're in trouble.
I tell you.
All right. Okay.
And the NYPD.
All right. I want to talk about something really, really important.
Okay.
All right. I mean, aside from impeaching President Obama for playing pool, aside from that, we are going to talk today about what happened in the last few years after the financial crisis, and how small business in the United States, which is over 50% of the of the jobs, supplies over 50% of the jobs in America, how 50% of the credit in America should be going to small business, because you would think, okay, they're supplying half the employment, but it's not even true. It's not even close to true. I think it's more like 5%, if it's even 5%. But we're going to defer to an expert that we have. He was there during the crisis. He knows a lot about it. And I am excited because we're going to talk about small business financing and funding. That's the F word. Everybody knows the F word, right?
Yep.
Funding, finance, and forget about it. Forget about it. It's New York.
This supports the whole idea, the one little segment that we do a lot is Tale of Two Cities. And so this really supports that process, what's happened
It's
in the
two
city.
cities, yeah.
Yeah, and so we've created that. I can't wait to talk to
Well, because we have huge businesses here. We have the
Yes.
Fortune 500. Probably every one of them is represented in New York. We have the 6 biggest banks in the world here, headquartered here in a lot of ways.
Yep.
We have Wall Street moving money in and out. And we also have small businesses, and they're not represented as well at all. And so we're going to talk to Eric Parita from the Argo Fund. Eric.
Eric.
Yay!
Over here? Over
Yay,
here?
Eric. You can sit here and then you can move over. When
All right,
yes,
that's perfect.
we would love you. Do you want to? Would you like a little gulp?
Yes.
Yes,
Oh
this
my
is
God.
really cool. No, it's contraband. Don't. Oh, hide it. Oh, don't show it.
God, I am glad I have my helicopter
Well,
and my gun to, to hunt. Otherwise, I wouldn't
Sarah
be able to hunt
Palin
my.
likes these, so we are honoring her today. So this is Eric Carita from the Argo Fund, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for making such a great intro about small business owners and small businesses. They truly been neglected, and they really add a lot of value to our economy.
I know they do because that's your business, but I want to talk a little bit about. First, I want you to tell us what the platform is, and then I want you to tell us, and then we're going to talk about your background. But just tell me what Argo Fund is.
Sure. So Argo Fund is a um, lending marketplace. We try to connect the small business owners with local community banks, and we'll talk about why local community banks. I think we're the only platform uh, that are trying to do this, right? Right? Because we think they're very important players in local economies, and small businesses and local community banks will help these local economies to grow, right, and become successful.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's pretty heroic. But what I find so fascinating is that Eric was on Wall Street, right? You worked in private equity. What did you do in private equity?
So I work in private equity mostly as I was doing work with emerging markets, and then came back to New York around 2008 when the credit crisis started.
What did you do for emerging markets?
I used to acquire infrastructure transactions, so infrastructure deals around the world.
You did structured finance.
So we were doing acquisitions of seaports, airports, and things like that.
Talk to me like I'm stupid. Okay? So how does that work? How do emerging markets work? So you would get the money for these huge businesses, right?
So we had an investment fund, and the goal was to go to areas in the world where infrastructure was not the best. We felt that seaports were a significant part of the equation of being successful and growing, especially in emerging markets that are exporters of goods, right? So we raised money, and we went out to in this case, Southeast Asia initially. Then we went to Latin America, and we went to Eastern Europe as well, and started making acquisitions and investing in existing ports and make them more modern so they could support.
Speaking of seaports, I love jet skiing. I mean, jet skiing is awesome. Right.
Is Miss Impact back? I mean, where
no, really. What I would love to hear a little bit about peer-to-peer investing and what that means for local economies. Because I think that's a really important transition that's happened, or maybe is being enabled more by technology. Is that true?
It is, and it's actually interesting because a lot of people talk about disruptive technologies and being disruptive on the credit side. And as a reason of the crisis, peer-to-peer came in and started to help people get loans and refinance their debt, their credits. And we're seeing this a little bit now, also in small businesses, where small business owners with their own credit are borrowing money for their businesses. And I think that play a key role at that time, right? I think what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a little bit of a change. We're seeing a lot of institutional money moving to the peer-to-peer, so I'm not sure if that still qualifies as peer-to-peer.
Right, so let me explain that a little bit, because we have to talk as if you're talking to Sarah Palin. That's what you have to do when you talk finance in here. Okay, because we have an audience, we know they're business people, we know mostly entrepreneurs, but we don't know what they know about lending. Peer-to-peer is where you can, a platform like Prosper or On Deck, where you can go and lend money to some business that you really find important or you want to support it, even if you're unaccredited, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, but the problem is with peer-to-peer, and my friend Amy Cortese wrote an article for the New York Times. He's gulping right now. Wrote an article for the New York Times a couple weeks ago on how these peer-to-peer lending platforms have now been taken over by private equity and by the big banks. You don't know that, but they do. And their percentages that they're charging are anywhere from 36 to 50% to 100%. So check it out. Okay, so why we brought Eric here is because Eric has a legitimate platform, and I think it's really disruptive. I think it's the first time it's happened.
It's funny because when people talk about disruption, I feel that they talk about destroying something to build something new. We're not doing that. We are disrupting the community banking system, but not to destroy, but to actually make it better, because we feel that community banking plays a significant role in these local economies. They're very, you don't have to go too far. I mean, here in New York City, you go to the South Bronx, and who is servicing those small business owners down there? It's not the big guys. So I think you guys had somebody here. You had Spring Bank here a few months ago.
Yep.
So people like Spring Bank are the people that are actually there on the ground. They know those small business owners. They understand their needs, so they work with them in the underwriting of small loans to make sure that they get the best product, the best rates. And unfortunately, I think there is a lot of lack of awareness about banking products.
Yeah, but okay, so Spring Bank is awesome.
I have a couple of questions. First is, walk me through what sort of, when someone comes to your website, what do you want them to do? Like, what's the point of your website? Because for me, whenever I translate what a business does to the web, it sort of takes me to the step-by-step process. And I actually have your website up right now.
Super. One thing that makes us very different from other platforms that are in the lending business is that we are a real community. We're trying to engage the small business owners, even if they're not ready to borrow money.
Right, so they can find a loan.
They can find a loan,
yeah.
They can find education, they can find tools to become better business owners. They find information on what type of credit might be best for them, and then we help them complete an application and connect them to local community banks in their immediate area.
Okay, so it's also financial literacy, but I want to talk about back up a little bit, because you have a fascinating story. So if you don't mind, if we could talk about that. I know it's very personal, but like there is a situation in your life when I think you said you were 11 and 12, or maybe younger. Could you tell us what happened? You were not born in this country, right? So where were you born?
So I was born in Peru, and my family and I immigrated to the country when I was 16. So I did 1 year of high school here, and then I went to school.
And what happened? There was something that happened. There was a military overthrow in your country.
Unfortunately, Peru has gone through a lot of transitions, and it was very hard for people to move upwards. My parents suffered tremendously economically. They saw that there was no opportunities for them and for us. So after cutting their losses, they decided to come to the country.
But wait a minute, they lost their business. Didn't they have people come to the door and take their business away?
This happens all over Latin America. So yes, so they. Okay, so I think the closest in history that we can go to is probably Venezuela, right? So we had Hugo Chavez, who at one point started going to the private business and saying, I want to expropriate this. This is now part of the Venezuelan government. So a similar situation happened in Peru. Also, we had a devaluation of the local currency. People were not allowed to hold money in dollars or foreign currencies that would be more protective, I guess. So all of these things made people lose their businesses, like my family, right? My family lost their businesses, their jobs, their money, and we were forced to leave the country. Right.
So your family was pretty well off, like upper middle class or whatever you want to think of.
I would say they were very middle class. I wouldn't say.
Okay. So they had a business. What kind of business?
My father was in the business of mechanical engineering. They were creating parts for industrial machines. Peru, just like in many emerging markets, the industries will buy equipment from overseas, the U.S.
Okay, so they one day there's a knock on the door, and the new regime, the new military government, takes your father's business away, and they take it over, right? And so your family went from being middle class to completely impoverished, right?
Of course. So once they take your assets away and your opportunities, what do you have left? You're poor, right? So my father and my parents, both of them, I give them a lot of credit. They took the steps. They're my heroes, right? Both of them had to leave their country, get on a plane and leave the country and come here and make a living so that they can bring their kids back into this country and unify their family and grow again, right?
Yeah, so that was like traumatic. You were like 11 years old, right, when your father left the country?
Yes, my father left when I was a couple of weeks before my 12th birthday. Yeah.
And he happened to have a visa because he did business back and forth in the States, and you had to wait 5 years without your father, living in poor conditions, where you said that everybody in the economy was waiting online for food because they were rationing.
Correct. So there were times where food rationing was happening, right? And it was very hard. Uh, Poverty in Latin America is not just you're poor. Poverty comes in many shades, right? So even within poverty, you still feed somewhere. There are people always worse off than you are. There was a lot of migration. This was the beginning of the Shining Path terrorist attacks and whatnot. So people were leaving the rural areas and coming to the city. So it was a tough time for the country. It was a tough time.
So when
When you were there, I'm always struck by this because it happened with Lithuania. You know, I was in Lithuania and they were taken over by the Russians, right? And when that takeover happened, it seemed to me everything got basically owned by the state. There was nothing left that was private. Did it go that extreme when your government changed?
Not that much. I think we were still called a democracy.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't until the following regimes where things became a little more of a dictatorship. But you don't have to even expropriate people's property. All you have to do is create the economic conditions to make you poor. And one of those things is by not having a good banking system, right? By devaluing the currency to the point that it's worth nothing.
Right.
So whatever you have today, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 soles back then, because now your 1,000 soles that was worth maybe $1,000 today is worth zero.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get because we're
Absolutely. I think that's true.
No, it's amazing. But I want to talk about how that brought him to America and what you saw here, and how that then you went on Wall Street and you followed the Wall Street route and private equity and you made money and you did your whole Wall Street shuffle, and then you said, I got to go back to my roots. But why?
It's nobody knows this, but I had a chat with you and Dax, right, who has a fantastic organization, and in the conversation we touch on creating opportunities, right? Speaking from my own opinion, I think most people don't want charity, they don't want welfare, they want opportunities, right? And what I saw is through my career, I was so focused on making money, right? I was so focused on at the beginning, before I started my career in investment banking, I wanted to make enough money for our family to buy the first home, right? The American dream, your first home, right? And then when that happened, then I focused on myself. I focused on just growing in my career, making money, invest, and do whatever everybody else does. Come to the city, live in the Upper East Side, and whatever you need to do, right? But at some point.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. But.
Well,
Or Harlem in his case.
correct.
Or the Upper West Side.
That's fine. Yeah. So I think, at least for me, what happened is that the crisis came. I continue in that path of being very aggressive, and all of a sudden, things did not work very well for me. Right. So in 2008, when I came back from the Middle, I was living in the Middle East for a couple of years, working for an investment fund there. I decided to come back to the U.S. My father actually was going through. They detected an aneurysm in his brain, so came back to be there for my dad. But in addition to that, there was this is the beginning of the credit crisis in the U.S. Right, as banks were failing, the TARP program was created and whatnot. So I saw an opportunity, very opportunistic, think investment banking. I want to come over there, raise some money, and start acquiring banks. And actually, this is when I learned a lot about community banking and why they were important, because I actually met with the owners of these community banks. I went to the neighborhoods of these community banks, and that was important for me to realize that what's missing in my life is doing something that had a mission. I need to go back and think, where do I come from, right? And I remember as an immigrant in this country that it was the local guys, local banks, and the local organizations that were making a difference in my life. It wasn't the big guys or the people in Washington or anybody else. It was just the local guys. And to me, it was very important that those guys existed. So sometimes going back to peer-to-peer, I think something has happened in there where there's this concept that we need to destroy banking. And I think that comes from the friction that we had with the large banks during the economic crisis, right? Everybody blames the banking system. But what people don't realize is that there are many small banks, and these are very small banks, 1 or 2 branches, that had nothing to do with that. And they actually became victims of that process. And it is those guys who are there investing their time and their efforts in not just in being successful as banks, but in building those communities because they depend on those communities.
Did they benefit at all from any of the money that came out of the bailout?
Actually, that went the other way. I think most of them actually were hurt. I think the money that came from the bailout actually helped in the destruction of some of these banks. The money was used to acquire a lot of these banks, and the people who acquired these banks did not rebuild these banks. They actually just took them as an asset that was purchased, and they need to make money out of these assets.
It's interesting because one of our guests next week is going to be, he's a man that is the president, I think, of Mission Markets, and I was talking to him about your platform, and he talked about how in Nebraska, when he was a kid, you know, if you wanted a loan, like you'd go to the farmer, would say to the banker, hey, listen, I need a tractor. And they're like, okay, so write the check and I'll you know, let it pass through.
And this is true because nobody knows you better than the guy that is in the corner, right? I mean, I'm not badmouthing Citigroup or Chase and why not, but going back to this example of a Spring Bank, for example, in the South Bronx, there's no banks miles from that branch, right? And what happens by being in those neighborhoods is that the bankers can build real relationships with the small business owners, and we're trying to help them in our platform to do the same.
Right.
And because they understand those specific needs of those business owners, they're able to tailor the lending product, even help them. So for whatever reason there is a problem with the business and they cannot pay their loan, they will help them. They will not go and foreclose and do things like other people do.
Well, and they're also going to stick around in the neighborhood like the small businesses. I just think that it's not about bad or good. It's about the big banks fund big business. And they shouldn't be expected to fund small business. So what you're doing is truly amazing. It's like taking an old-fashioned, like It's a Wonderful Life banks all over the country, and you're pulling them together online so you can create a community, and in numbers there's strength. So we have to take a little bit of a break now. We want to bring our other guests in. This is really fascinating, Eric. Stay with us because we're going to bring in Kiva in a minute. And
Yes, absolutely.
should we bring in Kiva and then ask, you know, should we talk to Miss Impact right now?
I think we should do some Miss Impact.
Yeah, okay.
Miss
Impact is one of our sages. She's one of our, she knows constitutional law really well. She understands banking really well.
Yeah.
So
she's
we're going to introduce you to her, and we think she is amazing. Yeah. So do you have the music?
So what I'm excited about with this whole little section that we're going to do is, you know, it's really an opportunity to hear from that specialist to get the insights sort of from the people, you know, from
the people. From real people.
From real people.
Yeah.
That's how I really feel about it sometimes, especially when she's on the show, because there's so much to learn from her.
Yes, there is.
And she can just bring so many insights.
Yes, she really can. Okay, so right.
So she has some intro music.
Yes,
she sent us some intro music. So.
All right. Well, we are playing Miss America. This is welcome to Miss America pageant. Actually, it's the Miss Asarima pageant, which is America backwards. This is the Miss America pageant backwards. And today we have one of our favorite contestants, Miss Impact. She is a contestant for the Miss Asarima pageant, and I think that she is going to win. And she's lovely. You're so lovely.
Hi.
Oh, so listen, we have two questions to ask you. One is, we're sitting here with Eric Parita, and we're asking him about banking in America and how small banks should be funding small businesses in communities.
Yes.
And how big banks should be funding big businesses, right?
Yes.
Don't you think so? What's your opinion about local banking, Miss Impact?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's so wonderful. So, Miss Impact, I know that you're a constitutional law expert. I happen to know that, and I happen to know you're also a banking expert. And I want to ask you, Ms. Impact, just for everybody here, to give us some wisdom on. See, Eric, you didn't know this, but we're actually we actually have a contest going on about Sarah Palin and Barack Obama. Sarah Palin is bringing action to impeach our president for playing pool and drinking beer without drinking shots. And what do you think about that, Ms. Impact?
I absolutely think as long as body shots are involved, you're okay. Like, that's
What's a
perfectly
body?
fine.
What's a body shot?
Oh, you know, it's where you drink off of other people's bodies.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that, Miss Impact. So do you think?
Really?
No, I never. Oh, what are you saying? Ah! Oh, Miss Impact, you're so fresh. Oh my God. So, Miss Impact, what do you think is more important, impeaching President Obama for drinking beer and playing pool, or bringing the community banking center to the front and center of Congress and strengthening it through amazing platforms like Argo Fund?
Yes. And what I love about it is that as long as the Second Amendment is upheld, which means that you have to, if you're going to drink beer, you have to have shots. That's the Second Amendment of the Constitution. So I think as long as that law is upheld, like Obama did, we're in good shape. It's those people that think that if you...
Miss Impact, can I interrupt just for a second?
Yes?
I think the Second Amendment is about guns. I don't think it says anything about pool or drinking.
You wanted me to get my gun? Is that what you said?
No.
I can...
No. Listen,
Okay.
we'll bring it. Thank you so much, Miss Impact. And vote for her.
Thank
She would like you to
you.
tweet out to her. Vote for her for Miss Asirarima, which is Miss America backwards.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get her point later. Would you do the poll tally, the vote tally for us?
I will
All right.
totally do the vote tally.
Yes, thank you so much.
See?
All right.
And so,
Wow. Can you believe how smart she
wow,
is?
she's amazing.
She
I
is.
love her.
Great.
Thank you so much.
She is
I know.
so-
Have some coffee.
Miss
have some-
Asarima.
Have some beer. Have some shots.
All
It's
right.
all good.
Listen.
Yes.
Could we introduce our next guest, because we don't want to run out of time
I'm
here.
ready. Let's
I
do it.
love these people. I love their platform because Kiva,
Kiva.
Jessica Feingold, come on out.
Come on
And
in.
do you want to move over here, Eric, so the girls? Yeah, you go right next to Shane. Yeah. And the girls sit right over here. Hey, Jess, how are you?
Yes.
Love your outfit. I'm so glad we're all in white and black, except for you, of course.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, this is the New York uniform. We have to be in
It
black and white.
is.
Have a seat.
Perfect.
Yeah, totally good. Kara, this is Kara Wasserstone? Wasserstone. Yeah. In German, Wasser means Wasser, and it's water. I don't know what Strom means. We're not really sure.
Yeah.
Oh, water stream. Okay, there we go. And Germany won the World Cup. I mean, do we care? I'm sorry, Brazil is here at the table, and they're very upset.
No kidding.
How are you? This is Jessica Feingold. She is the executive director of development.
I am the development manager on the East Coast for Kiva, because
Not the West Coast.
no.
So you're it here in New York.
I and Lizelle Van Riper and a future to be hired will be at New York.
Wow, cool.
Nice. Very nice.
What's your role, Kara?
I am the Kiva Zip Fellow based in New York. So my main goal is to spread the word about Kiva Zip. We have really exciting news to expand in New York, which we'll touch on soon. So I go out and about, speak to potential trustees, borrowers. I go to different panels, networking events, and let everyone know about Kiva Zip because I like it so much.
That's really cool. Okay, Kiva, for anybody who doesn't know, and I don't know where you've been if you don't know about it, it's international, it's microfinance. You know about it, Eric, right?
Yes.
It's all over the world. You can invest $20, $5, $50 into entrepreneurs everywhere in the world.
And they have an amazing website. I was just looking
Yeah.
at it. It's up on the stream right now. You can see it there, kivazip.com. You guys have some amazing things going on, and you can start to donate. I love that you guys have already started with your platform, like your digital platforms off the ground. I have a question in relationship to that. How's it going with the digital side? Are you guys running into a few bugs? Has it gone well as planned? What are you looking at?
Well, let's talk about the
No,
model,
wait
right?
one second.
So let's give you a sense of where we are there,
Yes.
because Kiva's been around since 2005, and really at its core, we are a technology platform. Over half of our team of 100 people are engineers, and what we've really built is this online place where you can crowdfund a small loan for an entrepreneur, or small business, or farmer, or student, often somewhere in the developing world. We're actually based in 77 countries where we can make a microloan. But at our heart, we are tech, so Kiva.org launched in 2005. And we've been building on top of that ever since, making improvements that our lenders really have encouraged us to make.
2006, just so you know, for Christmas, I gave Kiva to all my friends
He's such
instead
a
of regular
show-off.
gifts.
All
No,
right.
you know why?
Totally.
Because I really wanted that money that I would have spent on them, for them to take that money and invest it in things that matter in the world. I thought it was a fantastic
All right,
thing.
well, I'll one-up you on that one. I have $500 that I've been reinvesting over and over and over again, and do you know not one entrepreneur has ever not paid it back? I mean, I'm not even concerned. I really want to just give people the opportunity, but we just keep reinvesting it, and they have a 99.9% repayment loan level. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the U.S. platform, which relates a little bit to Argo Fund, but tell us what's different about the Kiva U.S. platform. Who's going to tell me about that? You?
A little bit. So just to give you a sense, as we talked about, Kiva was launched in 2005, and to date there's been $580 million lent by 1.2 million lenders to 1.3 million borrowers, 77 countries. As Monica said, 99% repayment rate. This has been very serious. But since the beginning, since both of you were making loans, people were asking us, why can't I do this in my community? Why can't I do this in my own backyard? And there were a lot of reasons for that. I think firstly, when you think about crowdfunding a loan to the developing world, the average need is around $400. So if each microloan by the crowd is $25, we're talking about 16 lenders. We know we can do that. Start looking at U.S. small businesses and what their needs look like, and it could be $5,000, which is where we really feel we can make our most impact. It's that kind of starter loan, $5,000. Be $10,000, $25,000. So it starts to be how powerful is Kiva as a crowdfunding platform to raise these larger loans. And that's been very well proven. I think another piece of it was that if you look at microfinance in the US, and Kara can speak to this so much as well, there are 200 million micro businesses, 5 employees or less. It's the backbone of our economy. If 1 in every 3 was to hire 1 more person, we'd be at full employment. They need to grow. They've been affected by the recession, and only 20,000 microloans were made in 2012. We're just not reaching.
So if say that again, give me the stats on that again. If each micro business hired 1 more person, we'd be fully employed?
1 in 3 of the 20 million micro businesses of 5 employees or less in the U.S. and hired just 1 person, full employment. I mean, really, that's what we're looking at. So we need a growth engine.
Yeah, we do. I mean, that's actually, when you put it that way, it's accessible,
And I love the
right?
fact that it's a local micro version of it, that it's really localized, and that if you're talking about a micro business hiring 1 extra person, then why not help facilitate that?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Cara? You said you go around to panels. What do you talk about when you? How does the platform work? How is it working in the United States? Because there is regulation here, and we still don't have the Jobs Act, fully implemented yet. So does that affect what you're doing with the Kiva Zip program here in the U.S.?
No, it does not affect us. So my main focus when I go to different networking events and panels is to educate the audience about Kiva Zip, and then identify potential trustees and borrowers, because that is the core of our model. We look for trustees within the community, whether it's an organization or an individual who have a strong presence and can vouch for borrowers who need access to capital.
Wait a minute. So move your chair over just a little bit, because I want to make sure you guys are on the camera. We'll get really cozy here.
We're in good shape. We're in good shape,
good.
actually. You
All
guys
right.
are on camera.
All right, beautiful. So what you're saying is, no, that's not good?
No, you guys are all good now.
Okay. What you're really saying is, like, instead of the models of credit, right, the old models of credit score, and, well, they weren't so old, but I mean, in the old days, they did it this way. They vouch for your character. But in recent years, in the past 30 years, it's pretty much been credit scores, FICO scores, from this, big business that nobody's ever seen, and nobody even knows who they are, and, like, they can make or break your credit and whether you could borrow or not. So you're saying that this new platform is you go in and you get trustees, and they vet the local businesses. That's how you know you can vouch for the businesses that people lend to.
Monica, you are exactly right. I'm so glad that you brought this up. We throw the credit score, number of years in business out the window. We look to
Oh,
find
wow.
borrowers based on character. And the best way to vet through them is to have a trustee who already has a relationship with an entrepreneur who, again, needs access to capital
Right.
at 0%. And we found there's a really strong correlation between the trustees and borrowers who have a relationship of 5 years or longer, and the repayment rate of our borrowers being at 100%. So it is important for us to find those trustees who truly have relationships with borrowers already. However, we're looking at other ways to expand our platform so that those individuals who don't have an existing relationship with a trustee can still get access to capital. So we're constantly evolving, and we're always open to feedback, because ultimately we want to reach as many people as we can. But I think quality is oftentimes more important to us than the quantity, assuming that the borrowers have a good story and they have some sort of social impact, whether it's for them as an individual or their family or the community.
That's pretty fantastic. I love that, and I really am inspired by that.
Absolutely. I want to hear on this side sort of what's your take on this sort of model in relationship to what you do?
Well, actually, I love it. I love it because we are an open platform, and we look forward to partnering with people like them, because we know that there are some people in the communities that are still very small. They might not have the best credit, or they're just very new in their businesses, and they should be funded. And people like Kiva, hopefully we can partner and bring those people to them, and they will be funded. I love the program. Actually, this morning I went to the website and found the one loan. Very easy to do, and I've been also with Kiva since 2007, funding other loans. So I think about $4,000 in loans with a little bit under $500. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how such a small amount of money can make such a huge difference for these small business owners.
Well, if you think of, just having like 10 people put in $100, I mean, you can handle not having the $100, and then you can multiply that by 10 and then continue the process. But what's your criteria? Do you have a criteria for funding?
It is the bank's criteria. So they do have to meet certain requirements. They do need to have a good credit record. They need to have some assets or have certain history in their business for the banks. But like I said before, the community is there the ArgoFund community is there to help them become better business borrowers, better business owners, connect with capital early enough with people like Kiva, so that eventually, sometime in the future, they will become clients of those banks that we're servicing.
Well, it's interesting. I'll just share this story because Eric has also added into his platform Springbank, who we mentioned a couple times, from Harlem and from the Bronx. They're actually a community development fund, and one of the few in New York, period. And they specifically went into the poorest congressional district in the United States, which is the South Bronx, to lend money. And we had them on the show, the vice president and the loan officer, and they told us that one man came to him, for example, and said, "I'm out of work. In the financial crisis, he was let go, and he had 6 months of unemployment behind him and a few dollars saved, and he knew he wasn't going to have anything too long, and he was maybe in his 50s or 60s and didn't think he was going to be hireable. He had been at the job for 20 years, no pension, and he said, look, I want a loan. He didn't have a job. And they vetted him in the neighborhood, found out that he'd been there for 30 years, his family had been there, and he had all these references that were local, and they actually funded him for a franchise. And he is still, to this day, they took a shot on him. Funded him for a franchise. It happened to be a McDonald's franchise, so it wasn't organic food or gluten-free, but he has 3 franchises. And that's a success story because he came to them in 2009 with no job. Amazing. So where can people go? I mean, how can they start this process? Can people vouch for businesses that they know? I mean, in this unemployment that we have that's continuing, that everybody says is going down, but it's just because they're rolling off the sheets. You're if you don't collect unemployment, you're not on the books, right? You're not counted. There's still a tremendous problem with that. So as an entrepreneurial country, people are deciding to start something new. And just like your parents did when they came here, and I don't know your history, but tell me how can we help that process as a community?
Well, any of these individuals that you described, they can go to Kiva Zip. We're rolling out here in the US, and actually we have a massive launch that will be coming up here in the city of New York. We intend to reach 1,000 borrowers in the next 3 years, and that is our goalpost. We're going to have internet capital to give away. We need borrowers who are local, who have the real need. We want to reach those who are the most financially excluded, those that a bank or maybe even a CDFI would have to turn away because of those credit scores. Like, we want to work with you. So you can go to zip.kiva.org to learn more. And as Kara was mentioning, and she can describe some more, it's really through the trustees that we vouch for your character, your trustworthiness. And so today, borrowers must meet with trustees who will endorse them for the loan. They go through something that's called a private fundraising period, where they have to go get 15 of their friends and family to give as little as $5 to the loan fund. And that's an indicator of entrepreneurial hustle. Does your friends and family believe in you? Are they going to go out and vouch for you? After that, the loan can go live on zip.kiva.org, and the internet community can come in and lend to you. So it is that easy. We have right now it's borrowers and trustees, because we really have to figure out, what does a trust-based network look like in the modern US? This is something, again, as you mentioned, we used to have, and then it was replaced by credit scores. So rebuilding that is our first step, and our second step will be figuring out if borrowers could come to Kiva Zip without a trustee. And so we have a small pilot of this now. We'll see how it goes. Again, we're a tech platform. Everything's data-driven. Depending on the data, it may be easier and easier, but today it's get a trustee, that trustee to endorse you, and then you can come.
That's amazing, because it's a wonderful life, right? It's all about trust, and like George Bailey, and like he trusted the people, and he knew they were going to pay him back. And if you're part of a community, you're not really going anywhere. But
I'm really excited. What really excites me is that you guys are a tech platform, and you have all the big data, and there's an opportunity to really do some amazing analytics to figure out what are the most effective ways to give loans in this new way, right? It's gone are the days when we'd have to figure that out by sort of going to business and seeing whether people work or not and talking to additional people. Now you can get that amount of information from your betas or from your alphas and then bring that back into your system. It's just a really cool way to think about information flowing in and then flowing back out to solve that problem of the micro entrepreneur who needs money.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome. Kara, do you have anything to add on that? I mean, how long are you going to stay with Kiva? As a fellow, you're there for a year. Is that what it is? I knew that Sue Lin, who was the fellow before you. So you're doing this as a volunteer? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So my fellowship is 4 months, and I started the first week in June. So I will be here for a few more months until the end of September. And my background's actually corporate retail, so me leaving that space to work in the microfinance was something that was really important to me. I wanted to make some sort of a difference in this world, and even if that means being a brand ambassador for Kiva Zip, that is how I wanted to spend my time and to figure out what the next steps are thereafter. I personally love what Kiva Zip stands for, and I'm really proud to be a part of the organization. I wanted to take a few minutes to touch on a borrower, Jessie Goldenberg, who owns the Nomad truck. She went to a bank to take out a small loan and was unable to get access to capital because she didn't have history of being in business, and her request for the loan amount was just too small. So she was starting to feel discouraged. Her dream of being an entrepreneur almost seemed impossible until she heard about Kiva Zip. And she applied for a $5,000 microloan and was able to use that money towards her truck and also purchase inventory for her boutique. She sells women's apparel, accessories, and jewelry. She repaid that loan and is now eligible to apply for a second loan of up to $10,000. She can do double the amount of her first loan because she repaid it on time and in full throughout the loan repayment process. And the $10,000, she's deciding if she wants to use it towards purchasing a second truck or potentially opening up a brick and mortar store in either Brooklyn or Long Island City. So we're really excited to have Jessie as a Kiva Zip borrower, because without that crowdfunded loan, it would have been really hard for her to have a dream. come true. And one of my favorite elements of this story is Jessie herself wants to become a trustee. We've already spoke about it, and we're in the process of having her be a trustee so that she can then find local entrepreneurs in her community and network who she can help get access to capital. And she said to me that she just wants to pay it forward.
That's amazing.
That's great.
That is truly
That's
amazing.
it. And that's really what all of you are doing is like it's neighbors helping neighbors, New Yorkers helping New Yorkers, Americans helping Americans, and the world helping each other. It's like we have to come together as a community.
Keeping it really local.
And that's like social entrepreneurship. That's what we're doing on this show. So I have something
we have
important.
Some votes.
Yeah,
we still have to tally
we're
some votes.
doing the Afghan vote. We have to.
But I bet you guys are really, really thirsty. I bet you're super thirsty.
So
you must be like really thirsty. So we got you a drink.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, this one's for you guys because it's got the mustache. So you guys have that. And then this one's yours over here.
All right.
So
You can just share.
No, it's all good.
I'm
We'll
gonna
take
share.
a straw. There's another straw.
All right. So cheers. Cheers.
Okay, it hasn't been opened yet. So no, it's so
Sarah
nice to
Palin really
have
loved
like
these.
we have all these votes. We have the tally.
We're still counting the votes for
yes.
Afghan. The Afghan vote. I mean, John
here's
Kerry
the
has
big
asked
goal.
us personally to do
My
this.
God, I'm so thirsty.
You go ahead. So we have a vote for okay, that's for Ghani and that's for Abdullah.
Here's some
And
votes.
yeah, you can count them.
don't worry
This
about
is
those.
for
We don't need
wow, this is for George Bush. Okay, and Al Gore. It's like wow, 2000 all over again. I don't know. Maybe that's where the votes went. They went to the Afghans.
I can't.
She can't make it out.
read it?
I think that's Dick Cheney.
What about you? What,
Dick Cheney.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, and Al Gore. Susan Al Gore. This is,
Susan Al Gore.
you know, I don't know if those two guys are going to win. Oh,
right.
Obama's gotten a lot of votes there. But speaking
Wait,
of Obama,
You know what?
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 We have
What
to
about
do. We
Obama?
have to do our tally. We have to do the vote. We want to know because Sarah Palin. Do you know that Sarah Palin wants to impeach President Obama? And do you know why?
Clear of her lately.
I mean, she's our idol. She's my personal idol, and she wants to. She's bringing an action on Fox News and all over the internet to impeach Obama for drinking suds, which is beer, and playing pool at the same time. So we were thinking that. Yeah, and she's a constitutional law expert. You all know that, right? You know that, Sarah Palin, and just like Miss Impact over here, Miss Impact. We're going to tally the votes, Miss Impact. We're going to wait. Can we get everybody here? Our production assistant and Kenny. Are you? Who's cooler? The question is, who's cooler? Sarah Palin or Miss Impact? Okay, you always have to take center stage. We're doing a vote here, okay?
Oh, okay.
Calm down, girl. Who's cooler, Sarah Palin or Obama? Barack Obama. Who's cooler?
I see Obama. I would do a cake stand with Obama.
You would do a keg stand with Obama. All right, so that's Obama. And all right, and who do you say, Cara? Who's cooler?
I mean, that's a really hard comment to follow. I want to do a keg stand with Obama as well, but I want him to hold my feet.
Oh,
Do you think yeah? What do you think? Okay.
It's a little racy, but we'll give him a vote. You might give him
That's
for that.
a girl after.
Like if they do an Afghan.
It's dark hair.
Oh my God! Long dark hair.
Yeah,
honey.
that's right.
A little crazy. We're gonna give that 2 votes because we're counting like they do in Afghanistan. Whatever. How do you vote? Do you vote for Sarah Palin or Barack Obama?
Well, Barack Obama loves Tar Heel basketball, as do I. That makes him very cool to me. He wins on the cool.
Oh no!
Cool.
It's
All
those
right.
Tar Heels. Ugh.
Eric, who do you vote for?
I'm a wolf
You know,
packer.
I have to side with Obama. I think he's pretty cool. He's
Oh,
pretty
my
smooth.
God.
Pretty smooth.
Wait.
Good
I'm
guy.
gonna vote for Jessica Simpson. Is she one of the choices? Oh, cool. Jessica Simpson.
It's a write-in vote.
Yes. I'm voting. Go, Jessie.
All
Go,
right,
Jessie.
where do you vote? Do you vote for Sarah Palin or Barack Obama? Who is cooler? That's what we want to know.
My vote was for Barack, but after this big goal,
Yes, you love that big goal.
I need to vote for her. You know, my vote.
For Sarah Sarah, yes, she gets a vote. All right, cool. And then we had, thank you so much. And we also had,
needed that.
I think that's true. And wait a minute, we had a vote for Sarah from, he thought she was hot. Chris Irk, he thought she was hot.
That's true.
And we had an abstention from Lauren. She just wouldn't say anything. She abstained. Okay, so.
Good. Sometimes I abstain too, but not too.
All right, so Sarah, this impact, could you please tell us, could you read the vote, the official vote? Okay? Well, here we there you go. Read the official vote, okay?
Okay. The winner is Sarah Helen.
I totally want to read that. That's it. Oh my God. Yay. Well, listen, you guys were running over, and you guys were awesome. It's so inspiring to have you here. It's so great. We want to keep hearing what's happening with Kiva. Come back before your fellowship's over. We'll come back again. And we want to help you with some trustees, all sorts of opportunities. Eric, you're my hero. Okay? You're totally my hero. No, I mean, that's a lot of pressure. We'll have a big goal. Okay? Next week. We're going to be next week. We're going to be at the Impact Hub.
Yes.
We're going to be at the Impact Hub.
Impact Hub
We're moving Sandstone downtown.
on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's a really cool space.
Yeah.
Impact Hub, and they're filled with social entrepreneurs too.
You're
We're
at
gonna
the
have
Impact
a
Hub.
show there.
Like, Kiva's down there. We're going to the Impact Hub. There used to be green spaces, now it's merged, and it's very cool. Marissa Weinberg is heading it up, and we love her. So we invite everybody down, and we'll get you there. We'll interview you again, say hi at least.
Yeah.
Thank you for
to call
coming.
you in. We'll call you in for one of our, very
Alright.
serious segments.
And can you stay after the show's over? We have to count the votes.
Yeah, we got more.
We're depending on us.
We got more big gold stuff.
Oh, sure. Eric.
So,
Thank you, guys.
closing words, Eric.
Sure. For your small businesses, for the community banks, and hopefully there are more initiatives like Kiva Policy, to help not only entrepreneurs, but also the existing small businesses, the local bodegas, grow and value.
That's amazing.
That's
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
So, like, all three of you, by the way, are heroes. All three of you sacrificing a lot to do what you're doing. I mean, I know that because social entrepreneurship is, it takes a lot. You're volunteering. You could be, selling cosmetics and socks. You could be on the board, right? You could do a lot of things. I know that. And I know you're on Wall Street, so I really appreciate whatever you're doing. Do you have closing words for us?
I guess one thing I wanted to underscore, and the purpose not to change something, but yeah, we're a tech company, we're data driven, we're a nonprofit. So I want everyone to just remember that about Kiva, that there's nothing in it for us at the end of the day. It's 0% interest capital. It's for you, whoever's watching, for the whoever's voting for us. That is why we're here for you.
Wow, so all the loans are 0%.
This in the
We've
US.
got to support it. We have to. Everybody has to get in there. What's the website?
The website is zip.kiva.org. And Kiva is spelled K-I-V-A. My closing words. Please lend as little as $5 to a local entrepreneur so that they can get that much closer to capital.
You guys are making me cry, but I think we should do Kiva. We should do a little samba. Okay, we're gonna close it out with everybody's got a little jingle here. Everybody has a little. We'll share it. We could do a samba. Is it salsa or samba?
Samba.
Samba.
Oh, in Peru,
Samba.
we started.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just told today that salsa and samba are very different. Very different. All right, bye. Thank you guys. Thanks for voting.